All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. We've got a nice show scheduled for you tonight. However, I will tell you right off the bat that Doug is running about 10 to 15 minutes behind. He had to go somewhere, but he is on his way back home now, and as soon as he gets home, he's going to log in. So sorry about that, but just about a 15 minute delay and he'll be on here. But before we get to all that, let's get our co-host Gary Kendrick out here. How you doing, Gary?
Hey, Billy, how are you, brother?
Doing good. So we'll find a way to burn about 10 minutes or so.
Should not be a problem. My wife says I talk too much anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, better be careful with that.
Yeah. Just want to say hi to everybody in the chat.
I don't want to see a club coming around the back and hitting you in the.
You're liable to. If you do, just call 911. I probably won't be in any chat. I just want to give a little shout out to everybody that's in the chat this evening. We've got Tennessee Cherokee. We've got Mick. We've got Jeff D. Digger Dog. Let's see who else we got in here. Mr. Garcia. Got quite a few on here tonight. Should be a good show.
Yeah, I wish all of them would log into the chat, but they don't.
Yeah.
You know, we have more viewers than what we have in the chat, so that's okay. They just don't want to chat, that's all.
Yeah, I just want to apologize to everybody, too, in case y'all haven't figured it out yet. I've got a year-old English Bulldog and a year-old Boxer. And about this time in the evening, my house devolves into the WWE Royal Rumble. So you're liable to hear them.
Yeah, they like to make themselves known.
Oh, yeah.
But hopefully that works, too, if there's something outside.
Well, while we're waiting on Doug, how was your outdoor adventure there the other day, Billy?
Well, I had a good time. It was good to go back to an old research site and just kind of hike it to see the changes. You know, everything was grown up, and it's amazing how much things change after a decade.
Oh, yeah.
You know, them trees and underbrush and everything gets really, really thick. But I tell you, that Rappahannock River, even though we've had some storms and some rain, it's still really, really low.
That had to close at least one of our boat ramps.
Yeah.
Because of the drop in the water. Digger Dog, you're right. It's time to rumble, pal. I know the weather's been, it's been pretty rough. Even with our farm animals, we've been giving them a lot more water than normal.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I was talking to a neighbor, and she does a garden every year, and she said this year, she couldn't get a tomato to grow any bigger than smaller than an apple.
Yeah.
She said they didn't do nothing.
Too dry.
Yeah.
It's been a weird summer because we went from about, I think it was like the start of the second week of June until probably the second week of July and had no rain whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then from like July, the second week of July till about the first week of August, they did nothing but rain.
Right.
And now, we've been this long stretch, we've had no rain.
Right.
So it's been really tough. Our yard died once.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to die again because I'm not going to water it.
Yep. I think we went through 2 months. I didn't even have to get on the mower.
Yeah.
It wasn't doing nothing.
And I know it's really hard on the farmers and stuff right now. Just like I said, it's just taking so much extra water, even to keep your livestock up, to keep you, your food up. I don't think the hay has been productive this year as it normally has.
Yeah.
It's been pretty rough.
Yeah, it makes it tough, especially if you're relying on that and that's your business.
Oh yeah,
I can get really bad. So,
and last year we had the big drought too. this is like 2 years in a row that it's hit us. I think up there where you guys at, y'all had a pretty good year last year, I believe.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad last year because we were, I was mowing the yard on a regular basis, so we didn't have that big of an issue. But this year was totally, totally different. So, here goes Mick.
Let me pull that one up.
You must have got him going, Gary.
If you see my ex's mom running around in your old stomping grounds, I wouldn't hold it against you to set your sights on her. That doesn't even acknowledge her existence anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Mick cracks. I'm glad to see Mick back, and he cracks me up. I struggle to keep a straight face sometimes.
I know you'll be here. You'll be there interviewing the guest, and then you crack this big smile, and the guest thinks, "What did I do? Did I say something funny?"
I can't help it. That stuff is funny, dude. The meatloaf one was the one that hit me pretty hard. I think.
Yeah.
That thing was slobbering because it must eat my ex-wife's mom's meatloaf.
Oh my goodness. Well, he should be on here in a few minutes. I'm kind of keeping an eye on. As soon as he logs into his Facebook, I'll be able to see it.
Just a quick question for everybody that's in the chat. If you guys want to chime in, how has the weather affected your guys in your research right now? Have you noticed a decrease in movement or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Having this dry spell like this can possibly make some movement happen.
Oh yeah. We have a huge deer population. I tried to plant some garden stuff this year, some peppers and some tomatoes and some pumpkins, and they destroyed it.
Oh yeah.
But there's been a noticeable increase in the deer activity here lately.
Yeah.
And I think it's just where, it has been so dry that they're seeking out as much pasture as they can possibly get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I have to say that we've had a little bit more deer activity this year than we have in previous years. When we moved up here 4 years ago, we didn't hardly see any deer. And this year, I've seen more deer probably this year than I have the other 3 years that we've been here. So,
yeah, we've noticed quite a few. There's a couple of really nice bucks that's running around here.
Mm-hmm.
If they tend to hang around, they may end up on a plate somewhere.
We also got a coyote up here running around.
Oh yeah,
and, during the daytime, the coyotes are grabbing domesticated cats and taking off with them.
Yep.
So,
anything small like that,
yeah,
small cats, dogs,
mm-hmm.
whatever, they'll snatch them and go.
Yeah.
My wife's cousin, he lives above her dad and them, and he's got some game camera pictures, and I believe it's the 3-way cross, the coyote, domestic dog, and eastern gray wolf mixed.
Yeah,
and that's a pretty intimidating looking animal.
Oh yeah. Well, I was kind of surprised we had one attack a Labrador.
Wow.
And they had to take the Labrador to the vet. Cut him up pretty good. But I'm just surprised because Labrador is not, Yeah,
that's a pretty lofty meal for a coyote, for real.
Yeah. So I don't know why they did that or why the coyote did that, but all right, he should be logging in here any second. He just logged into his Facebook, so
sweet.
He should be coming in here any time once he clicks that link and gets himself set up. And we'll be in business. So he told me that he's got his music type. He said he likes everything from John Anderson, so country, to another group. I can't remember what it was, but I looked it up and it was like some kind of a classic rock. So what I did was I did a classic country song for him.
That would be good.
That kind of has a little bit of a John Anderson sound, a little bit. So we'll see what he thinks about it. So
I have to admit, the AI songs really impressed me. It's hard to believe that a computer can generate, music.
I know. Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I think it's neat.
Uh-huh. All right. He's probably getting all of his stuff set up.
Yeah.
Because I know he's got way better broadcast equipment than we got.
Yeah, I'm working off a little HP laptop computer with one of those stupid halo lights.
Yeah, the only high-tech thing I have is this microphone, but that's about as far as it goes.
I'm kind of primitive feed over here.
Oh, man.
But that's kind of my style. I'm not a big technology guy.
Well, hey, if it works, it works.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I always figured if a man can build it, a man can break it,
To be honest, though, you have really good sound for not having like the headphones and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Your sound is really good.
I kind of tweaked the mic a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might have a lot to do with it. But I'm pretty impressed with this little computer. I mean, it's kind of a cheapie from Walmart, but it does, it's got a pretty good camera on it. It's got a pretty good mic on it. Speakers are real good, so I'm pleased.
Yeah. All right.
The Royal Rumble has begun.
I hear him back there rolling. All right, folks. He should be logging in here anytime. I'm kind of keeping an eye on the Facebook. He's definitely on. He's probably trying to get himself set up with this stuff. So. Yeah, Mick, that's a little different style of music. It's kind of funny that he mentioned that, that John Anderson, the country singer, and then Johnny. It's funny he mentioned that. We were talking about actors the other day, and you know Michael Keaton, right?
Yes.
Played in Batman and Mr. Mom and all that. So, did you know that Michael Keaton is not his real name?
Actually, I'm going to say yeah, but I don't remember what his real name is.
Well, this is the funny part. The reason he had to go by Michael Keaton is because his real name is Michael Douglas. Now, wouldn't that cause some confusion?
Yeah, that would be huge right there.
All right, Doug, I think we got you on there. There he is.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Hey, Billy. Hey, Gary.
Hey, Doug. How are you?
Good. I hit a little giddy up in my gas pedal getting here. A little extra.
And that's all of us.
In fact, I set a new record getting from my workshop to my studio here.
There you go.
It's a new record. Yeah.
Well, we're glad to have you. It's an honor to have you on the show. All right. So Gary Kendrick there is my research guy. He's the one that, if you have any skeletons in your closet, he might have pulled them out. So we're just kidding. We're kidding, Doug.
So, what do you guys want to talk about tonight?
Well, Gary's going to tell you.
I have a long list. I have a long list. I'd like to start off by introducing Doug. This is Doug Hajicek. I believe I pronounced that correct.
Correct.
Doug is a TV and film producer. He's a producer and founder of MonsterQuest, writer and director of the documentary Sasquatch Legend Meets Science. He's a Minnesota-based wildlife and film producer, and also one of the hosts on Untold Radio AM podcast, which is a really interesting show. Really interesting show. And I'd like to start off tonight by, we're going to go way back to like 1987 to 1988.
Whoa.
Doug gets work for WCCO TV out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And one of the things that you did was the Phenomenon of Fishing and the Outdoor News magazine. Does your work in wildlife production in Minnesota influence your work with Bigfoot any?
Well, yeah, because it's where I started meeting a bunch of scientists, people that worked, wildlife biologists. So I would meet like a bear biologist, but I would use them in Bigfoot research. I would meet a bird expert. And if I thought there was some symbiotic relationship between Bigfoots and ravens, that'd be the go-to guy. You know what I mean? But it really got me in with all sorts of, moose researchers, fish researchers, bear, wolf. And it really opened up a whole bunch of doors for me. But what it did more than anything, I was quite young when I started this TV stuff. But what it did more than anything was it built my confidence. I realized that there were a lot of things they didn't know. They have the degrees. I have no degrees in any biology. I have no biology degrees. But what was so interesting is that when I'd go to these guys and I'd say, hey, have you ever put a camera in a bear den? They'd go, no, God, that'd be, and then I could help them do that stuff. And so that kind of it kept boosting my confidence and thinking any scientist is approachable. Yeah. And that's a message I want to get across to every Bigfoot. Do not be afraid to reach out to some local scientist in your state and say, hey, do you know anything about this mystery? Half the time, you know what you're going to hear? Yeah, I had an experience back in 1991 when we were camping. Half the people I contact are interested in this topic.
Yeah,
they may not want to go public with that info.
Right.
But they're interested. So it's anyhow. So yeah, it did. It really helped me, and it affected greatly the research I do today.
Great,
excellent.
That's a good question, Gary.
Thank you. I really do research.
You do.
Doug, I also wanted to mention that you built the camera system that filmed the first giant squid, which was well over 54 feet long in its natural habitat. What type of film setup do you think it would take to get a better quality video of Bigfoot than what we have with the Patterson-Gimlin film?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So let's go back to Patterson. If he would have had, first I want to bring up this. If he would have had a cell phone in his pocket, I knew like my phone just went on me, shut that off. If he would have had an iPhone in his pocket, we wouldn't have any footage. He would have to pull it out of his pocket, turn it on, scroll through all the apps, find the video app, turn that on, and then it would have, like always, it goes to the photo instead of the whatever. He'd been dinking around. By the time he would have had that up, that thing would have been a dot. And then the wide lenses on these cameras are great for close-up work, but it would have been worthless for Patty. Patty would have been a piece of fly crap on that film. It would have been worthless. So, like, I just got back from an expedition up in Canada, and we actually had some film camera traps with film cameras. Why? They're instant on. They don't use any electricity. It's spring wind, right? So when that trigger's triggered, it's filming instantly through a fixed focus lens that's way bigger than this. It's filming through like a 50 millimeter lens versus 3.6 millimeters. And so we did that. Unfortunately, nothing ever set off our traps, even though they were natural, like sticks, like a stick. All you could see is a stick on the forest floor. If anything would have stepped on it or near it, the film camera would have been rolling. And then we disguised the film cameras with native vegetation, sticks, local fauna. So or flora, so there's no way it could even be seen. But just unfortunately, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
Think of all the things that have to go right for a Bigfoot to walk down this one trail and then step on your thing and then, the lighting to be right. And so, it's a tough. But I do think people can go back to film cameras. You can carry them. They're very practical. You can buy a 16 millimeter film camera spring wind, locked and loaded, just hit a button and they're rolling. And you can still buy the film at Walmart.com. You can still get it developed. It's cheap. Those cameras now, you can get them for $50, $20. I think we paid $5 for 2 cameras.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, $5.
That's
Somebody
a good
wants
deal.
them. But yeah, in fact, I could go grab one of them and show you the spring trigger that a buddy of mine made. Pretty clever, pretty simple, 3D printed. And he's willing to share that trigger plan with anybody.
Nice.
So they can get it 3D printed in their, whatever. Or I'm sure he'd be happy to 3D print those triggers. But all it takes is just something has to pull out of this spring-loaded trap, and then it trips the the trigger for the camera, and they start rolling.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
As a former Marine, I have a little bit of experience with spring traps.
Ah, okay. Yeah, there you go. But I just think there's no sense of not trying some old things.
Mm-hmm.
You hear so many things, and there's so much rumors. Bigfoots can sense electricity. Well, they might, but we don't know for sure.
Right.
We can say, well, yeah, my batteries went dead, or it, whatever. All these situations that I've even had happen, but that doesn't mean that you can for sure say something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all mystery.
Oh, yeah. Another quick question I have for you, Doug. Can you tell us about, and I'm not for sure of the date on this one. I couldn't really get a good date on it, but you did a little documentary called The Lake That Has Never Been Fished.
Yep.
And you found a trackway, and I believe it was near Lake Selwyn. I think I'm pronouncing
Yeah, it was
right.
Selwyn Lake. Yep, up in Northwest Territories.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. That's actually the first thing that triggered my triggers so bad that I couldn't forget about it. So when I came home, I was obsessed. So we went up to this lake. Well, I have to go back a little further. I was at this other lake up in the Arctic, and we were fishing, and I was filming for television. And I spotted a 6-foot lake trout, 6 foot long.
Wow.
Swimming behind a 30-pound lake trout, trying to eat it.
Wow.
It was like the size of a big man. And I went, holy crap. I looked at my guide. I said, did you see that? He goes, oh, yeah, I see those all the time. And I went, what? What do you mean you see those all? He said, yeah, we see those big giant fish all the time, but they're too slow. All right. So I got back from that trip. And I got a hold of a biologist, a fisheries guy. His name was Dick Sternberg. So I got a hold of him, and we were planning to try to get one of these giant lake trout on tape. So we built big lures, and I built lures with cameras and this and that. And one time I was out, I wasn't with Dick, but I was out with, I believe, my guide. And the host, the TV show's host I was filming for, his brother was with me. And so we had to stop. We just went to pee on the shore because it was really wavy that day, big lake. So we stop on shore, and there's footprints, huge human-like footprints, very clear in the sand that came out of the water. And the water wasn't really deep. And there were islands. If you could imagine like the Caribbean, it's kind of like that when you get up that far north. Very few trees, pretty much just green moss, gin clear water. The water you can see down 80 feet deep. Beautiful area. So there's these footprints coming out of the sand, and we take note, and we're like, these are not bear. We all knew they weren't bear. And we started looking at them even more. And I was like, holy crap, those things are huge. They're like 16 inches long. Mm-hmm. And then we kept following them. We're just kind of speechless. And we follow them up to an area. There was a big rock, and pea gravel had started. And there was a deep track, even right there in the pea gravel. I said, Rick, get on that rock and jump off it and see what you can do to dent soil because we were just amazed at how deep they were. He didn't even hardly leave a dent in the soil. He was 300 pounds. And so he jumped off. So anyhow, we kept following the tracks through the pea gravel, now into the moss. And there was a track in front of a stunted black spruce tree, about maybe 7-8 foot tree. And there's not many trees up there. I mean, it was just a little stand of trees. And there was a footprint in front of the tree, guys. And then there was one directly behind the tree. Do you know what that meant? It walked over the tree. It just stepped over the damn tree. Like a weed. Like you would, jumping over a cattail. And so that's when Rick and the other guy I was with, he goes, "We need to leave now."
Good call.
That was a good call. And I'm like, no. I want to follow these a little farther. So we followed them through those trees, and we get out to the tundra area where there's no trees. And it's just kind of this gentle rolling area, and you could see those footprints going off to the horizon, like way just gone. Straight line, and you could just see them kind of pretty much in a straight line. So we got in the boat. We took I think it was probably an hour and a half, 2-hour ride back to the camp that we were in, tent camp. And we went to the bush pilot, and we said, we just kind of barged in on him in his tent. And we said, can you take us up in the plane? Because, we saw Bigfoot tracks, blah, blah, blah. And he got pissed. He thought we were playing some kind of joke on the guy. So he threw his clipboard against the tent wall and said, "Get out of my," and he was mad. And it's kind of a common thing if you've ever done these like Arctic, subarctic camps. There's always somebody gets the butt of a joke.
Yeah.
We'll do some practical joke, but this wasn't a joke.
Right.
But he thought it was. And my plan was, because there's no trees and you can see those tracks clearly from the air, we could have followed him till they ended. Till, there's the creature. And filmed it. And I would imagine it was up there hunting caribou. Because the caribou at that time were calving. So there was all these female caribous dropping calves. So anyhow, that was it. And I have regrets for not, approaching him again, trying to reason with him. To, just swearing a stack of Bibles is no joke. But I get home and I'm obsessed. And that's when I finally got a hold of Matt Moneymaker. And Matt kind of gave me the lowdown. He was the first guy to give me the lowdown on these things, going, hell yeah. I mean, these things are probably everywhere there's, woods, water, and hills.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there's lots of water where we were. And, the very mild temperature up there in the summer. It's just short. Summer's very short, but easily could see a creature migrating up there, not necessarily living there, but just going up there just for the calving of these caribou calves and the blueberries. Oh my God. I mean, it just, as far as your eye could see, blueberries. So there you go.
Nice. All right. So we're at the halfway point of the hour.
Hell,
Doug,
that was only one question.
Doug, you remember I asked you what your favorite music is?
Yeah.
So what I did was I had AI create a song about Doug Hajicek.
Oh, no.
In the version of classic country similar to John Anderson.
Oh, there you go. I like John Anderson.
So it's called Chasing Shadows, the Ballad of Doug Hajicek.
Oh, my goodness.
Here we go.
All right.
In the heart of the forest where the shadows dance, Doug's on a mission, gotta take a chance. With a camera and a notebook, he's on the quest to find that legend, put the myth to rest. From the Smoky Mountains to the Cascades high, through the mist and rain, under starlit skies, he's walking like a whisper through the ancient pines, listening for whispers ancient in design. Oh, Doug, you're chasing shadows in the darkest night, hunting down the stories in the pale moonlight. With every step you take and every move you make, you're getting closer to the truth that's hard to fake. In the Yangtze Valley or the Himalayas cold, legends and tales of the wild and bold. Dogs tracking footprints in the virgin snow, searching for a creature only whispers know. Across the seas to hide the sky's rugged shore, through the dense thickets, always wanting more. With patience and grit and a heart so keen, Doug won't stop till he's seen the unseen. Oh, Doug, you're chasing shadows in the darkest night, hunting down the stories in the pale moonlight. With every step you take and every move you make, you're getting closer to the truth that's hard to fake. Across the seas to out the sky's rugged shore, through the dense thickets, always wanting more. With patience and grit and a heart so keen, Doug won't stop till he's seen the unseen. Oh, Doug, you're chasing shadows in the darkest night, hunting down the stories in the pale moonlight. With every step you take and every move you make, you're getting closer to the truth that's hard to fake. With every step you take and every move you make, you're getting closer to the truth that's hard to fake.
Yeah, there you go, Doug.
Oh my goodness.
That was excellent.
That was it. That was amazing, but just the thought of it, that's pretty flattering, guys. I don't think I've ever been so flattered in my life. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was good.
So I'll tell you, it's so fun to do those, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Is that using AI?
That's using
Oh
AI.
my God. And it's, you know, my son was playing around with that and he had one written on about Dogman.
Mm-hmm.
One about Bigfoot. And I was like, dang, that's really good.
Right.
So good job. Anyhow,
Thank you.
yeah, no,
Got a
thank you.
couple questions, Doug, from the chat room, if you don't care for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mick wants to know, question for Doug, and I'm going to butcher the name of this bad. I know I am. Aside from Snell Grove Lake,
Yeah.
have you researched any other areas in Ontario, Canada?
Not really. Right on the border, though, I have. Right on the border of Ontario. We rented a cabin that has, it's off-grid. We had to get there by 11 miles on a logging road, solar-powered, off-grid. We went there during blueberry season. And that cabin got attacked, too, based on what we did, which was just some tree knocking. In fact, I'd never heard my daughter swear before. My young daughter, who was also up there, it was my son, my best friend, my daughter, and my son's girlfriend. And I had heard something walking on the porch, came up walking on the porch. If you ever do these things, you're sleep light, right? You're
Yeah.
in a
Oh, yeah.
camper. Yeah, you just sleep light.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she made me, we had heard a scream earlier and a wood knock. So she made me tape a blanket over this picture window that connected to the front porch. And this place is surrounded by forest. And so I hear something heavy walk up on the porch, and it opened and closed a recycling bin that had a spring latch on it. And one was for aluminum. There was one on the other side of the doorway for glass. So it opened and closed that thing over and over. And I thought, holy crap. And then it walked down and started playing with the tonneau cover on my truck, trying to rip the Velcro.
Mhm.
Then it walked back up and it did the other side over and over. Like I'm talking 40 times. It
Wow.
opened and closed that lid. And then it walked back to the truck, played with the Velcro, walked back up, and opened and closed that lid. It was very autistic almost, was kind of my thought at the time. And then boom against the cabin. I mean, it was just shoved so hard, that wall that we were sleeping against, the wall moved.
Wow.
In this little cabin we were staying in. And I was just shocked. And my son, because of that experience, came to the conclusion that these creatures must be metaphysical, that they followed us somehow. And I said, well, Blaine, you know, we picked this spot out because it was it was close to water, close to streams. We even talked to the owner. There were blueberry bushes all around the cabin. You know, we did our research, and it's right connected up to the Boundary Waters canoe area and the Quetico. So it's, you know, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it didn't surprise me, but that was his conclusion, that there's no way we could be in two cabins together, back to back, and have them attacked. And that thing came back every night and threw something at the cabin, but each time on a different wall. Each time it freaked another person out that had to sleep. And the last night it got the back wall where Joe was sleeping. And, you know, also took stuff that was left outside and threw it against the cabin, like a broom we left out there. It threw the broom against the cabin. Things like that. I mean, it's not bear activity.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, when that thing was on the porch, I was right there and could have pulled that duct tape off, peeked through the window. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if there's a fear of seeing it or a fear of it reacting to seeing me, or, you know, it's all of the above. I don't know, but I didn't do it.
Well, the bad thing is, see, you knew it was just on the other side of that glass.
Oh, it was right there. Oh, yeah. I'm talking, a foot away.
Yeah, glass is the key to that whole thing right there.
Glass, right?
Yeah, glass is the key. Exactly. I really do think there's a bit of life-preserving wisdom that we get at that exact moment. Going, okay, there could be an 8-foot wild gorilla-type creature that I could startle. And you know they probably have a short temper. Because they probably need to have a short fuse.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And you just don't want to rock the boat.
Mm-hmm.
But to experience, I've never experienced a cabin that felt like it got hit by a semi-truck.
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. The whole wall pushed, you know, one boom, and our bed flew away from the wall just a bit. Well, you know, obviously I was already awake.
Yeah.
But she woke up instantly and she was like, what the F, you know?
Yep.
So there you go.
Yep.
She was like, I think 12.
Yeah.
I never heard her swear ever before.
Mick wanted to know also, was that on the border of Ontario and Manitoba?
Yeah, just on the border of northern Minnesota. If you look like around International Falls and you go east of International Falls, there is the Boundary Waters canoe area. And if you follow the border of the Boundary Waters, it goes right into Canada, called the Quetico. And this is like a 1 million acre no-fly zone even.
Mm-hmm.
It's canoe only, no electric, anything. It's really a true wilderness. Yeah. And we were right, literally the land for this cabin connected to that wilderness. So we had done our homework. And Blaine had rented another cabin near there. And they had to get there by boat. It was a very deserted place, and they had Bigfoot activity there too. Nice. And what it did there was threw some rocks up on the deck, and then it had taken either a stick or its hand and went bum, 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 bum around the deck rail, you know, at 3 a.m. And we had that happen up at Snell too, but on the rafters, which are really tall, man, 14 foot at the peak. And, it woke us up going bum, 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 bum with its hand or a stick. We don't know. But up on the roof rafters, it's kind of they have this thing they do called I call a grand finale. Now, I hope somebody else has experienced this, where right before they leave and say goodnight, they do something quite dramatic. It's the biggest rock. It's the biggest wood knock. It's the smack on your RV or your tent or whatever it is. Right. And then they leave.
Right. We've always noticed around here when we were researching, I don't know what it is, but it's almost like they have a time frame that they like. In certain areas, there's like different times.
Yeah.
And here in Virginia, for some reason, seems to be between 10 and 12.
Okay, well, up in Ontario, it does stay light longer, and the nights are shorter because the sun comes up pretty early up when you get up far north. 1:30, exactly. You can almost set your watch to the activity. 1:30, and then it would end very abruptly at about 3:30 in the morning. Okay. And the sun comes up about 4 something in the summertime up there.
All right.
So
interesting.
And it ends abrupt and it starts abrupt.
Yeah.
And the last time we were up there last year and this year. And last year they were more bold. There was no moon and there was thick cloud cover and they were really bold. And they came right up on the cabin porch 2 nights in a row and raised hell. Wow. And I don't know if did you hear this story? So we were going up this year. We get up there. We stay overnight at the where the plane is going to take us in the morning and drop us off, fly us out, and then drop us off. It's a float plane.
Yeah.
And we get to the camp to pay our bill and settle up and and get ready to board the plane. And they go, "Oh, you guys are going out to Snellgrove." Yeah. And we're like, yeah. Oh, that cabin got destroyed again here a couple weeks ago. And we're like, oh, damn. So it's like, no. And we're like, and Adam goes, do you have pictures? Do you have video? She's like, yeah, I got a video of the damage. So she shows us the damage. And of course, the windows are broken out for the first time. And that scared the living crap out of us this time, knowing they learned a new skill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's break the glass. So that kept on edge. And I don't know if you probably didn't hear my mousetrap story, did you?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So it's night 1 this year. And I had seen a mouse run across this guy wire and head into my buddy's sleeping bag. So I told Bud, and Bud put a mouse trap somewhere. I didn't even know really. I didn't pay any attention where he put it. Put some peanut butter on it. Well, he happened to put it right by my bedroom above on a post right above the wood stove. And this is like a tin wood stove. So in the middle of the night at about 2:30, I'm just dozing off finally. I'm finally thinking, oh my God, I can finally go to sleep. Nothing happened at 1:30. Full moon though. So nothing happened. So I'm gonna doze off and all of a sudden, bam, 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 bam. And I'm like, I wake Adam up, I wake Joe up, and I'm like, we're getting barraged by rocks. It sounded like a rock hitting the glass. What it was a trap going off, the mouse trap. Snap, which sounds like a .22 caliber going off, which is what I thought was a rock hitting the glass. And then it fell and then bounced, and the mouse is jumping around, and boom, boom, boom on the tin on the wood stove. So I got everybody up for nothing that night. Chicken Little.
It happened.
I lost all of my credibility in one night. All of it.
It happens.
Yeah.
I have another question from Digger Dog. Digger wants to know, is there any possible documentaries or films in the future other than Snellgrove?
Well, I'm not sure I quite understand the question. Can I find it on here?
Yeah, I'll put it back up.
Oh,
he can put it back up.
Oh, have we rescheduled film? Oh, okay. Question: is there any possible documentary or film in the future? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm working on Legend Meets Science too, which covers all sorts of things in all sorts of areas, including Snell.
Yeah.
But we came back this time with some really good hard evidence, which was really neat. So
Good.
this last trip paid off in droves.
Good.
Yeah, so we came back with some really hard evidence.
Now that one's going to be more like movie style, right? It's going to be a
Yes.
pretty long one. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a number of hours long,
All
probably
right, good.
part 1 and part 2. But I've been working really hard, and we've had some really interesting things, developments even in the last week that have been, working with these experts. I shouldn't talk about it yet, but man, this is it's a pretty big breakthrough. Let's just say that it's a big breakthrough. I think if it pans out when we do more of what you got to do in science.
Right.
So
Good
I'm
deal.
gonna be 100% honest. I'm kind of fanboying right now because I was a huge fan of MonsterQuest.
Yeah.
A huge fan of MonsterQuest, which you created and produced. What was it like working on MonsterQuest? And you covered a lot of cryptids in it.
Well, I can give you an example. Okay, so you get up in the morning at 8 and you work till about midnight, from 8 in the morning till about midnight, right? I mean, just so many things.
Yeah.
And then you go play a little bit because you're going crazy because you've been sitting in the damn chair all day. And then you make sure you get home by 4 a.m. And then you go to bed and you get up in 4 hours. And you do that for 4 years.
Man.
That's what it was like. And then I remember, I think it was after season 2, they go, we want 2 double seasons. And you know what that means? That means 26 hours of programming in 12 months.
Yeah.
And that's like doing 26 Legend Meets Science. And the only thing that bails you out is the money. That there's, quite a bit of money to play with to hire enough crews.
Right.
But still, I have to still manage all these crews.
Mm-hmm.
Write the rough scripts and do that kind of thing. And it was tough. Yeah. But I think the show, I think it'll go down in history as one of the better ones. It seems to still play well. I'm still very proud of it. I spent many years not looking at any shows, but just like in the last year, I've looked at a few.
Yeah.
I'll be damned. I get sucked right in too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're excellent. They're excellent.
Yeah.
I've been watching all the reruns.
Oh yeah. A question that I ask every guest that we have, and this is a really strange question, and I'll explain it. Is animal, mineral, or vegetable? Do you think that Bigfoot is an animal? Do you think that Bigfoot might be in the mineral category, interdimensional or extraterrestrial, or vegetable? Do you think that Bigfoot might be some type of spiritual being, or do you think it's a combination of all three?
Well, I really don't know anything. I've been doing research for well over 35 years. I wouldn't say full-time, but damn near full-time.
Yeah.
And I'm just as dumb and ignorant as I was the day I started. But what I have experienced is their extreme intelligence. I could tell many stories of being, it's like the coyote and the roadrunner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely the coyote guy. I'm the coyote. And Bigfoot does the beep beep at me all the time. And I feel like an idiot. But yet, I always say you can't walk into a room and leave with you're going to leave something behind. So I'm still a strong believer in that. I've gotten zero footage in my life, and I'm going to tell you, I have tried so many damn things. We went up to sell even this year with a baby Bigfoot that was robotic, and even deployed that. And this thing's crying like a baby out in the woods, moving right. And it did get some activity, but just some rocks thrown at it. Yeah. They're not stupid. They're like, that's not real. That's not real. We're not going to fall for that crap. So we're just going to throw a rock and maybe hit it. And then so we're done. That's it. That's all they've done so many things where I'll have a trap set, all natural, and they'll set it off just to let us know that they know where it is. Mm-hmm. we had many rocks thrown at our cameras, even though they were so hidden. I could have told you, Gary, or you, Billy, the camera's within 2 feet of here. And without using your hands, you would not be able to see them. That hidden. And they throw rocks at them and go, you're busted. And then they go to the next camera. Bink, hit it with a rock. Next one, bink, hit it with a rock. Next one, bink, hit it with a rock. It's like, how do you know they're there? And that's where I get, well, maybe they are supernatural, or maybe they are mind readers, or you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know they're very gorilla-like, but very intelligent when they're here. But am I gonna poke holes in somebody that said they saw one go through a portal? Hell no.
Yeah.
Why would I? I didn't see that.
Right.
And so I have no knowledge of it. So I'm just gonna keep going what I do, which is go about my business trying to go after a physical animal, analyze physical evidence. And they do leave a lot more physical evidence than people seem to think. One of them I'm going to mention are fingerprints. They seem to have a very thick, waxy sebum oil. And this is not like isolated. I mean, do you know anybody, Gary or Billy, that have found a handprint on their car or their camper?
Oh yeah, I hear about it all the time.
Yeah.
I rest my case. Well, we're analyzing those. And we're trying to go deeper with them. And even now, I found out, and it just hit me, it was literally yesterday. Did you know gorillas and all primates have a different biome of germs or bacteria under their sebaceous glands?
Mm-hmm.
So they have literally can identify a chimp from a gorilla, a human from a gorilla from a orang, all these different, a macaque, they all have their own unique bacteria living on their skin and their sebum. Ding, 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 ding. Another thing.
Yeah.
So now we're talking 4D evidence. We're talking the latent details, which we may have some little breakthroughs on that. Maybe we have DNA probably in that sebum.
Mm-hmm.
So we have latent DNA, and then you have the chemical compounds are very different in sebum between humans and gorillas, humans and chimps, humans. They all have different chemicals, like different waxes, different types of cholesterol, triglycerides. So we're analyzing that stuff now. And now, yesterday, bing, 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 we can search for microscopic biomes. And that may tell us something, too, that could be consistent. For instance, you turn in a swab, Billy, by God, it's got the exact same biome as one that was turned in over here last year.
Yeah.
Now we have a match. Okay, they have their own kind of bacterias that live in their pits and in their sebum. So it might be 4-level evidence, just fingerprints.
Yeah.
So we have to look at all levels of that. So,
Nice.
and then of course the hair has not been studied properly yet.
Right.
It's going to be in Legimede Science. So we are, and I collected a great hair up at Snell.
Good.
Really a good hair. It was snagged on the doors they had about ripped off up at Snell.
Wow.
And first thing I did, I get up there, the plate lands. I'm not even there 2 minutes. And I see those 2 doors laying there that were damaged so bad they had to replace them. I walked right over there and I'm looking, and right away I see a hair snagged on the hinges or on the hinge area on one of the doors. And it's got that beautiful taper at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's blonde. It's semi-transparent, no medulla. And I'm like, crap, I'm yelling for the guys to get over here and look at this. And then we collect it, and we all filmed it and get it collected. And I'm going to be sending that in here tomorrow. So
Great.
That is good news.
Yep.
Yes.
Billy, I'm going to run over a little bit. I'm sorry.
We can. I'm good. I was late. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Doug, being from Minnesota, did you have any knowledge of Sasquatch as a child? Because I know Minnesota is kind of a hot spot.
Not really. My uncle told me a story once that he had an experience. And, you know, it was really a cool, spooky story. Then we have the Minnesota Iceman at the state fair. Yep. I saw that every year. I could go in there. Frank Hansen himself would kick me out because I wouldn't leave. And, you know, I'd be looking through the glass trying to figure out, is this thing fake or real? And, of course, I concluded it was fake, even at a young age, because there was a hair pore on the head, and I could see where two hairs had come out of it, and it reminded me of my sister's doll hair that's poked in with an awl. Mm-hmm. And that what did it for me. It didn't mean I was still interested in, you know, showing my buddies and going up there, because it was just a cool topic. And then I was deer hunting back in the 70s and sitting on my deer stand before in the dark. Sun's just barely coming up, and I get just gobsmacked with this sting. It's horrible. It covered my mouth. You know, I was a little like, what is this? It smelled like rotten flesh. And then I hear chest beating. That was not a grouse. I mean, I was a grouse hunter. I knew grouse drumming. No, this was, I mean, it shook my body. It's chest beating. Mm-hmm. And where it got weird is I went back to the lunch camp where we had, you know, a specific place we're all going to meet. Excuse me. And we get back there, and I tell about my experience. Two other people in that camp had that same experience. Something went from deer stand to deer stand and tried to intimidate them out of that area. And that was up in Orr, Minnesota. But once again, you kind of blow it off because you didn't see anything and there was no physical evidence. And you just blow it off. It was just a gray area and you forget about it. And it wasn't until then the trip up at Selwyn Lake up in the Arctic, that's what tripped my trigger and my light bulb went off and go. But maybe my light bulb wouldn't have gone off if I wouldn't have had those other kind of gray experiences. Mm-hmm. You know, it kind of builds up after a while.
Oh, yeah.
And, but the Minnesota Iceman, I came to the conclusion way back that was fake. And then years later in the 70s, after I got my driver's license, I was restoring antique refrigerators just for something to do as a kid. And I saw antiques for sale at a farm after I'd gone down to, I think it was Winona. Coming back, I think on the other side of the river, and I'm coming back, pull into this farm, and this old guy starts flirting with my girlfriend. You know, he's being really friendly, like to the point where I'm ignored. So I just wandered off into his barn, and there was the coffin. Apparently, I was at Frank Hansen's house, the older Frank Hansen. I'm at Frank Hansen's house. It's hard to put two and two together. I go into the barn. There's the coffin with a crack in the top, and there's the latex dummy in it. And this would have been 1970 and probably about 74, 75. Mm-hmm. And there was that same pore. I could literally remember that same exact pore on the forehead with those two hairs coming out of it. Went back, checked it, and went, yeah, that's the same one I saw in 1968.
Yeah. That's cool.
So that's the connection between 68 and 1974, 1975. Nice. So it was, so what I figured he did, he put animal entrails over the top. He'd freeze it up to a point, lay pig guts, maybe an eyeball, you know, where the eye was coming out. But it was real. The guts were real. The eyeball was real. Yeah. All from a pig. And then refreeze, lay some more, refreeze. And man, it looked, you know, it would look pretty real then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which would explain some of the smells that people would report. But I'm going to tell you, the reason he just displayed it without any of the ice, I could see his refrigeration unit was plain out in the open and he had been working on it, but it was broken. Yeah. So I picture he's going to the fair. Oh, damn, the refrigeration unit's broken. well, who the hell cares? I'll just go anyhow. And I'll just make up a news story that, I switched the real body for the, right.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
$5 is $5.
Yeah. You gotta call a spade.
Right.
If something's not real, it ain't real. And I debunk footage all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm also a big fan of certain other footages where I've put them through the ringer and they are real.
Yeah.
There's no way. It's just, when you spend hundreds of hours on certain pieces of footage and you keep having red flags drop aside and more truth comes out, like the more I studied the Patterson-Gimlin, the more I saw the gate, the weird gate where nobody had ever mentioned the knees going in and out. And I spotted that hernia, or what I thought was a hernia on the thigh, things like that. I mean, that's just not something that you're going to plan in 1967 to do.
Yeah.
Just, it was never brought up by Patterson. It's never brought up by Bob. So, and just like the Freeman footage, he never brought up the baby lift. There's a baby getting lifted in there, and he never brought that up. I'm the one that told Paul about it.
Right.
So those are the things that add credibility to it. And then you spend another 100 hours, dissecting that, going, it cannot be anything else.
Yeah.
So you have to accept what's left.
Right.
Yeah, excellent. Doug, do you think Sasquatch will be proven to be a fact in your lifetime?
I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm working on trying to raise the bar. I do know there's more and more scientists taking up this topic secretly.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah. They have to be secret. They have to.
They are.
Yeah.
If you know anything about like Zoo Book, I meet every other Thursday with scientists, and they're anonymous. That's part of the deal of joining. You can't give away anybody's ID.
Right. Yeah, and I know Amy Booz is heading that up, and I think it's a great, great thing.
It was brilliant of her.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's, I believe Zoo Book is growing,
Yeah.
I've a new face. I've brought a few PhDs in there, and there's new faces. And usually these people are willing to go in there because they've had some experience.
Mm-hmm.
They've had something. Maybe they didn't see anything, but man, how do they explain those rocks, or those screams they heard, or some shadow they saw, 8 feet up in the distance through some trees, or God knows what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
I was going to mention to you, Doug, so I'm sure, you've been doing this a long time. I'm sure you've heard of the Mount Vernon monster.
I haven't.
You haven't heard of that?
No, sir.
Okay. So that was a big story here back in the 70s.
Okay.
Okay. Mount Vernon, of course, is the, where George Washington had his home. Okay. So there was some kind of creature out there that would scream in the night.
Okay.
Okay. And the neighbors were seeing it. One of the neighbors was supposedly feeding it. And so I'm friends with the Fairfax County police officer that was called to the scene back in the 70s.
Wow.
And when he was there, they had done an investigation after a bunch of neighbors had called it in, didn't find a single thing. Everybody packed up and was leaving. He stayed behind. And while he was there, he said this thing, whatever it was, let out a scream. And he said it vibrated his insides.
Really?
He said it was like someone turning on bass. And you could just feel it.
That's such a common story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt it too. And it's very, very weird. Chris Reinhardt brought up a 20 kilohertz, 40 megahertz. It was a tuning fork, almost in the no doubt some of it was in the infrasound range.
Mm-hmm.
So he recorded it. He brought the tuning fork up, and then he made a recording. He was outside blasting it about sundown. And I was in the cabin, and it was shaking the entire cabin.
Wow.
And it reminded me of things I have felt in the bush.
Mm-hmm.
But did that help us, hurt us?
Right.
Who the hell knows?
Who knows, right?
It's
think
just something that people should try, broadcasting some tones and who knows?
I think quite a bit of, like you're talking about the vibrations and stuff. It could be just from the fact that Sasquatch has a huge lung capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, volume. But generally it's going to be a very low, just like some guy pulls up and he's listening to his music too hard and his subwoofers are vibrating in his car and you're feeling it in your chest.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, it's still low frequency can be mixed. It doesn't have to be all silent in that infrasonic. It could be part of it can be infrasonic and the other part can be very audible.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting about infrasound. It doesn't have to be, there's parts of it we can hear just beautiful.
Yeah.
Because we can hear anything above, 20 hertz, we can hear, but we can definitely feel it.
Right.
I'm going to be honest with you. We were doing an investigation here in Virginia, me and Billy and, a lot of other people. And something growled at me. I was in my Jeep and I could feel it vibrating inside of me like that. And I panicked a little bit and I hurried up and got out of there and I ended up running my Jeep up onto a stump.
Oh, geez.
It took me a while to get my Jeep back off the stump before I could get on out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're talking about.
That's crazy. Yeah, I had one growl at me too, but it happened to be I was urinating when it growled at me. And that was in the Skookum Meadow area.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pinchot Gifford National Forest.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to be peeing and it growled at me. Well, I've had that happen numerous times. I've had rocks thrown at me when somebody's urinating or I'm urinating. That seems to really kind of irritate them.
Yeah.
It's like a territorial marker.
That's what I was getting ready to say, yeah.
Yeah. So when you're out there and you're on expedition, it probably wouldn't hurt to have everybody, the men, pee in one area, to kind of mark a line and then maybe put a camera. I don't know if that's been tried yet. Some hidden camera on that pee line.
Yeah, just as long as the rock doesn't come while I'm,
I had a Bigfoot. It must have been a Bigfoot. I don't know what else could have been. Up at Snellgrove, we were all peeing in one area off the porch because we're too afraid to go to the outhouse. Can't blame us, right? Would you go to the outhouse at Snell? Hell no. So we just, you're lucky you just have enough courage to go out on the porch and do it.
Right.
So we pee off the porch. Well, one night we're up there and we hear urinating. And I'm thinking, well, it must be one of the guys. But then I'm like, well, God, we locked all the doors with butter knives. I don't think so. And it kept going and going and it was really loud. And then the picnic table flew across the bench, which takes two guys to lift it. Right? And then that went flying across the porch. And then a big rod case that somebody had left out there got thrown at the cabin really loud. And that woke everybody up. So I can say I have been within maybe a foot or two of a peeing Sasquatch. And once again, I was too afraid to look out the damn window.
It was probably covering up y'all's scent. He's like, "Don't pee in my."
But if you guys want to hear a stream, oh my God, it was incredible.
Somebody let off the fire hydrant.
But the fact that it really, that is the kind of knowledge that I do get. I haven't had any success using it, but the chances of it coming and peeing right there would be 1,000,000 to 1.
Yeah.
It could have peed anywhere. It picked that one spot where we all peed.
Boy, that would be a good sample collection.
Oh, yeah.
I never even thought, you're kind of making me mad now, Billy.
Like, go out there right at that moment, Doug.
I could have went out. We could have recovered that soil. Can you imagine getting on the floatplane with a bag full of piss-soaked soil?
Mm-hmm, right.
But it would have had ours.
They would say it was contaminated because there was human DNA in it.
Right.
Yeah,
probably still won't smell as bad as those pheromone chips.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you know the story of those things.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
I
know them things stink. I won't get near them.
Yeah, no, they stink. But I don't know if you know the story how they were developed.
Well, I've heard different stories. I think I heard one of the stories on one of the shows, one of the documentaries.
I'll tell you the real story.
All right.
So I was going out, where the Skookum Cast, the expedition, the Skookum Cast, I was going on that trip.
Yeah.
I was going with Matt and a bunch of other guys, Rick Knoll and Leroy Fish and a bunch of people. Yeah. Well, my son sends me an email that says, I'm bringing my fiance up, dates. He just got engaged. And I'm thinking, oh, God, I hadn't seen him in a year.
Yeah.
So I'm like, perfect. That's the way Murphy goes, right? The same dates. So I called my buddy Greg Bambanek up, I met doing that show up in Minnesota here. And he was a scent enobiologist. And so I called him up and I said, Greg, can you by any chance mix female sex scents and pheromones with gorilla sex scents and pheromones from the bacteria? And this is the only guy in the world that would actually say this to me on the phone. He goes, I think I have some of that in my basement. I'm like, what? He goes, oh, yeah, I did a study back in college, and I had to grow all these different bacterias, and I have all the enzymes. I still have all the enzymes for gorillas and human females. And I said, well, can you mix this crap together? And he had developed a coyote repellent chip where they were scented with human scent to put on sheep to repel coyotes. Right? And so he had this plastic that would absorb scent. And I said, then can you put this scent on those chips? And he said, sure, I'll call you back tomorrow. So he did. And then he ended up going to my place out to the Skookum expedition. Mm-hmm. And they came back with a Skookum Cast. And, people could say, well, they're elk. But boy, me and Greg did everything we could to disprove with buying elk legs and trying to do everything we could. And,
right.
I wouldn't blow off Dr. Dara Swindler's conclusion on the Achilles tendon because he wrote the atlas between chimps and human anatomy. Yeah. And he was very adamant that was not anything to do with elk. That was a human heel and a human Achilles tendon because there was a formula that only he knew. He was going to publish a paper on the weight and the width of this Achilles tendon. He had never published that paper. And this fit the formula exactly. And that convinced him on the Skookum Cast. So there you go.
Wow. That's a nice.
There's always room. See,
that's a good background story that I didn't know.
No. Yeah. Darius, okay, when I went to go meet Darius, and asked him, what's your conclusion, Darius? Because I gave him a month to study this Skookum Cast. And he started to cry. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. He was in full tears because he had blown this mystery off. And he had so many chances to research it. And he had blown it off. He had made public statements denouncing it. In fact, there was even an article, I'm not even that, like a year earlier, where he was in USA Today denouncing the whole mystery. And now he was convinced there were these creatures.
Yeah.
He was 100% convinced.
Yeah.
I had him tone it down for Legend Means Science. I could have also filmed him crying his eyes out.
Yeah.
And I didn't, just out of respect to the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyhow.
Nice. It's good to hear that.
There's always backstories to things that people don't necessarily know. But anyhow, whether the pheromone chips work, but that was a brainchild of mine back in the 90s.
Okay. Yeah, because I can't remember. We used them on a site somewhere. Yeah. And it would definitely been after the 90s. I know that.
I've had dogs sniff the jar and they run. They're
Oh,
bad.
boy.
They are nasty.
Oh man,
Yep.
yeah, they are.
So who knows?
Well, are you done, Gary?
Yeah,
Did
I'm
you
good.
finish? Okay.
Gary's done.
Gary's done.
Well, we got it. I'd love to come back, guys. I really feel bad.
Yeah. Oh no, it's fine, Doug. I mean, hey,
I had you written in my calendar, but then I had to go out of town today unexpectedly.
yeah.
So I did that. It was a long drive. We drove all the way back. We hadn't had lunch yet. We hadn't
Wow.
taken, no supper. In fact, after we get done, I'm going to have the most beautiful, delicious supper ever. And it just slipped my mind because I wasn't at home all day.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it. I mean, you know, it means a lot that you got home and logged in here.
Oh yeah, no,
So-
but let's plan on doing it again because there's so much more stuff we could talk about.
All right,
guys.
we can do that.
I really-
We'll talk about it. You just
I
let me
really
know.
I really like you guys. I think you guys are awesome, and I love the song that you guys did. It's just honored.
I'll send
anybody
that
would
to
even
you.
think, yes, send it to
I'll-
me. Anybody
I'll
would
send
even
it to
think
you.
of that.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, Doug. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Great talking to you guys.
You too.
And you guys have a great rest of your week here.
All right. You
All
too,
right.
Doug. Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So that was a good show, Gary. Good show.
It was an excellent show. I really appreciate
That
Doug
was
coming
fun.
on.
I do too. All right, folks. So we thank y'all for hanging in there. We still have most of our listeners in here. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll have another show, of course, next Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'm just going to remind everybody, please go to our YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe button. Does not cost anything. Hit the subscribe button. That way you keep up to date with what we got going on. And I'm going to be occasionally doing videos of old research areas and putting them up because I put one up last Friday. So if y'all want to check that out, it's up on the podcast YouTube page. So yeah, go ahead and subscribe, like our shows. All of that helps. And we will see you all back next Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good night.
Night, everybody.